Hello, welcome back to the channel. After the last video I did about my supply chain analytics cheat sheet that gather all the different projects I did using Python to solve specific operational problem, I wanted to introduce a new tool I discovered 3 months ago that I'm using to help companies automate their workflows and also enhance my own analytics product. This tool is called n8n, and here you can see the user interface. The idea of this tool is to use a graphic editor to build workflow automation using nodes. In this video, I will quickly introduce what is n8n, and then we are going to look at 2 or 3 workflows to show you how powerful this tool is, and maybe give you some idea on how you can use it to automate some processes in your job or to enhance some analytics product that you have designed. Let's go for that. So if you go in the documentation of n8n, basically they introduce this tool as a visual editor. And we can consider this tool as part of the no-code tool, even if for me I would call that more low-code because you need some coding language knowledge, especially for JavaScript, a bit for Python if there are some nodes that are using Python. But more importantly, you need knowledge on how to use API, how to use webhooks. But as a developer, it's a really useful tool because with a simple node, you can completely change your workflow and you can add some features without considering variables, without considering dependencies. It's pretty easy. So the idea is, let's say for instance, you have a workflow where you want to collect information from an email that is received. So I will take the example here of an email that provides some information about orders. So each time you receive an email from a specific sender, you want to capture the body, you want to extract the order information, you want to process it, and then you want to push that to a database. With n8n, you can do it easily by just connecting different nodes. So you connect the node of Gmail, then you connect the node of processing, probably using JavaScript, and then you have some also specific nodes for data processing, and then you connect the node of Gmail or database that will directly push the results, so the transactional data, to the database. It's pretty easy. You don't have to write a single line of code. And the main reason why I'm using it now is because if you want to add an additional feature, let's say, for instance, that you want to add additional information from an API, is just needing one click. You have some nodes to do HTTP request. You add it in the workflow, and you can add the results. So let's have an example so I can illustrate that. So for the last 3 months, I've been learning this tool. I've developed some automation workflows for some customers that have deployed, for instance, for one customer that needed a Telegram bot. And to learn, basically, my learning process was to take some solutions that I have deployed using Python, and I wanted to translate that into n8n. So here I will show you one example later, but first let's start with this very simple example using n8n to parse EDI messages. So what is EDI messages? Maybe let's go back to my blog. So EDI means electronic data interchange. So if you work in supply chain, you are probably familiar with that. It's a protocol used by systems to communicate between each other. So if you have a manufacturing company, a large manufacturing company, they have an ERP, so Enterprise Resources Planning System, that is basically managing the manufacturing, the procurement, the finance, the logistics. And this ERP is communicating with warehouse management systems to know what's happening in the warehouse, to send orders, to receive status, to the transportation management system to manage transportation, and also to some system related to manufacturing, but also to external systems, for instance, the ERP of the customers to receive purchase orders or to send invoice, or the ERP of the suppliers to send purchase orders and now to receive invoice. So the idea is that the EDI is basically helping the communication of orders. So these are transactional data. The problem for some businesses is that the costs of EDI connections can be extremely high. So you need developers, it can be extremely complex. And for some examples, when I was working in logistics, the EDI connection was semi-manual. What do I mean is that the customer was sending orders in the EDI format. So here, for instance, you have the EDIFACT example. And then in our company, we have set up a workflow, a semi-manual workflow that received the orders via email, and then the Excel VBA macro was basically processing the results, and we had a batch every night, and the day after we could receive the orders. It was not really efficient, and Excel VBA was not really reliable, and that's why I wanted, when I faced the same situation last year with a customer, I wanted to develop something more reliable. So first I was thinking about Python, but then a friend introduced me to n8n, and I have developed a workflow that I will present to you now. So let's go back to the user interface. So here, just for you to understand quickly how the workflow is working, basically. The EDI message is received by email. So each time you receive an email, the workflow is activated. And by what? By this trigger. So this is a trigger built by n8n, where you put your credentials of your email credentials, and you are using the Google Email API, and then you ask the node to check every minute, every hour, every second. Each time a message is received, the workflow is triggered. So then everything goes from left to right. So what happened then? Then you have this node that is taking the subject from the email, or the trigger, and then checking if the subject contains EDI. Because here in our example, basically the customer was sending EDI messages by email. And for each email that was containing EDI messages, the subject was EDI and then the number of, and then the order number, I think, if I remember well. So here, I just checking if there is EDI, the string EDI inside the subject. If yes, then we extract the body. So here, for instance, I took an example here of this EDI message that contains 2 other lines. And then you have some processing done. So this is here where you are using a bit of coding. So here we are using JavaScript to basically parse the EDI message to extract some information about the orders. So you have the header. The header includes some information about the order, and then you have the 2 different order lines. So here we have 2 different products. I took a very generic example. Then you have 2 different parallel workflows. In one of these, you are extracting some information, so the order information. This order information will be used later to classify if it's a return order or if it's outbound order. And then you have this node that is, how we say, processing what has been processed by the first node to transform the data into transactional data. And in the end, what you have after splitting is you have data at the tabular format where you have the 2 different order lines. So I guess it's pretty easy to understand. So you have blocks. Each block is taking as an input the data on the left and is providing an output on the right. And then you merge both, so the header and the transactional and the order lines, basically. Then you have this node that is checking the order type. So from the header, if it's a return, it's basically sending the 2 order lines to a Google Sheet that I will show you later. And this Google Sheet is basically has 2 sheets, 1 sheet for the return, 1 sheet for the outbound. Then if you look at the results, so here you have the 2 order lines that were copied and the columns that were mapped automatically. It's pretty easy. It can be triggered automatically, so you don't have to care about scheduling or launching macros or keeping your computer open, because that was the case with my colleague that was letting his computer open to make sure that the macro was running all the time. And for instance, let's say that you want to add a notification via Telegram. But you just have to go here, add a Telegram node. So here you want to send a text message. And here, for instance, you connect here. So each time an order, like orders are written orders, it will be sent to the Google Sheet. Let's connect it here more. And you can just say, you type the child ID, so it will be my personal child ID. And then you can add a message, say, okay, return orders have been parsed. And then you will receive a notification on your Telegram. Okay, but probably maybe for you Telegram is not professional enough, but you can also send an email using Gmail. You can use Outlook. I guess you start to understand how powerful this tool is, where you have what we can call an analytics product. Like it can be Python, here it's more like JavaScript. That is basically the core of your tool. So for here, we are talking about EDI parsing. And you can enhance the user experience by adding some automation. Another thing that convinced me about this tool is the very, very practicality to add AI agents. So if you look here at the JavaScript code, it's pretty complex. It's in JavaScript. It took me time to build it. I needed the support from Claude. And probably the problem is that you may have different customers, and each customer has different protocols for the EDIs. So it could be complex. But what you can do is you can ask the support of an LLM. What I mean by that is you can quickly, with n8n, so you ask AI agent, you can quickly add an AI agent. You can provide him the model. So here I'm using OpenAI with GPT Omini for Omini because it's cheap. You can ask him to parse with a specific format. So here these are provided the format. And then let's try what will happen. So here, let's say that, okay, you don't trust the JavaScript parsing, and you want to see what the AI agent would do. So let's retry with the workflow. As you can see, the workflow is basically processing it normally. And when it's done, you have a problem with the AI agent node. Model output is not filling the requirement. Yeah, it's because I connected to the wrong node. You see, that happens. I'm still learning. Let's retry. Great. So let's have a look quickly on how we set up the AI node. Very simple. So you create a system message. You don't have to care about long chain. You don't have to care about... Here, it's purely low code, no code. You don't have to care about which variable of long chain you are using, how to host it. Everything is with one click, which is extremely reliable. It's extremely practical. So here I have, for this example, I have written a very simple system prompt saying that the AI agent is an expert in EDI, and the task here is just to do some parsing. And then you have the order number, the order type, the order date. And here, this is like an additional load that basically explain you what kind of outputs you have. So if you need, I will go more in details on how I build this workflow and everything that is behind. Just here's just to show you how powerful this tool is. And then as an output, what you have is exactly what you wanted. So basically a kind of parsed version, then that would need basically the process of flattening and splitting out. But what I would like to show you here is that in one click, let's say that the customer comes back, say, yeah, I have some issues because I have a new customer and the EDI format is different from what I gave you. So how much time do you need to create a new one? Because I have orders to be processed in coming days. Instead of spending time of rewriting the JavaScript code, you can just ask an AI agent. It's pretty cheap. And what is good when you are self-hosting n8n is that you can also use local models, for instance, Llama or Mistral. Let me show you another example so I could make sure that you are convinced that n8n is probably the tool that you should learn now. So here, this tool, let's go back to my blog. So it's not related to supply chains, but it's mainly related to analytics. So I've been learning Chinese for 6 years, and one of the most powerful tools that I've been using is the flashcards, where basically you have an app. So here is Anki, an open source app that helps you. That is a kind of your personal teacher that asks you some questions, and then you can self-assess if you know the vocabulary or not. The good thing is you can spend like half an hour per day on it and your vocabulary will increase. But it takes time to create these flashcards. And what I did a few years ago when I was learning Chinese, I built a set of Python tools to extract the data, to process, to translate the words. So let's say that I have a word in English. So for instance, like transport dispatch, I wanted to translate it in Chinese. I needed also the pronunciation. So it was pretty good. And I wanted to learn n8n, to transpose this workflow using n8n. So this is what I did. So let me show you on n8n how it looks like. Yeah, so here, it looks quite complex, but actually when you look in detail, it's pretty easy. So here, the trigger is not an email, it's a Google Sheet. So it's looking at the Google Sheet, and the idea is how it works. Let me take you back to the Google Sheet. So here, I will put an initial text. So let's say I will put, I don't know, warehouse, right? And what I need to create my flashcards is I need a translation. Okay, that will be the answer in Chinese. I need the phonetics. So in Chinese, it's called pinyin. Because if I want to make sure that I pronounce well the word, I need to have the right phonetics. But also to learn, I need a sentence in Chinese where I could use this word in the context. And what I discovered is that it's pretty good when you have an image, you know, so let's say you have an image of a warehouse. So when you are doing many flashcards per day, it's helping you to retain the information. Can we do that with Python? Of course, but it's way easier with n8n. Let me show you. So let's go back to the workflow. So here, the trigger, every time I type a new word in the Google Sheet, it will trigger this node. Then in this node, we are going to check if the word is not empty. If the word is empty, we do nothing. If the word is not empty, we connect to the Google Translate API. You know, one node, very easy. You don't have to check the documentation, how it works. You ask the Google Translate API to translate to Chinese. Then the output will go to the AI agents. You know what? Let me run it first so we can see the output. As you can see, it's pretty smooth, very easy. Okay, great. The workflow is done. Let's wait first. I will explain you the workflow here, and then I will show you the results. So as the output, you have the warehouse name in English here, and it's translated Changku in Chinese. Very good, even detected that is English. Perfect. Then here, you extract some output. So you extract the initial name, translated name, and then you create an image name that will be used to store the image. And here I take the initial name in English and I add JPEG. Then the AI agent, you remember the AI agent that we had before. So here, what happened is that I wanted to generate the sentence. So I needed the AI agent because you don't have Python libraries to basically generate sentences. But I wanted also to use the AI agent to extract the pinyin, so the phonetics. You have some libraries to do that, but I was too lazy to write the code. So I asked the agent, oh, okay, let's go to the prompt. Boom, you are a helpful translation agent. You will receive a word in Chinese, and you are expected to provide the pinions, which is the phonetics in Chinese, and to generate a simple sentence in Chinese. So that's the task he has to do, like provide a short sentence, and you are even explaining him what kind of format you need. Because here in n8n, everything is good when you are, everything should be in JSON. That's how things are working. So that's what he did. He took the translated text, provided the pinyin is good. I mean, you can trust me. And then he provided the sentence. So here, okay, we have to go to the warehouse to take some products. The sentence is pretty simple because I asked the agent to have a pretty simple sentence. And when you have flashcards, you need simple sentence. But as you can see, it's pretty convenient, right? Then you merge both, okay? So you have a table with everything. Okay, we have the translation, we have the phonetics, we have the example. What about the picture? The picture here, we take the initial input, so that's a warehouse. And then you have the API. So here, we are calling a free API that is providing pictures. So here we send to the API the warehouse, and then they give us 15 pages of images, so up to 3,000 images. For me, I just, as you can see here, so what you need for that, so this is the HTTP request node. You need just to put some information, your API key. So you can copy this API key, but as you could see with the editing, I have changed it before. But it's free, you know, you just have to register there. I think it takes 100 photos per. You can have up to 100 photos per day, so which is way enough. You extract the picture. So here, as I could tell you, yeah, I take the first picture. Let's view it. It's a warehouse. It's cool. So then what you ask basically is, what you want to do is you want to download this picture and upload it in your Google Drive. So that's what we are doing here. We are taking the initial text, you know, as I told you, is warehouse.jpg, and we are providing the link here. Then what we want to do is to extract the image link. The image link is going to be used also when you are going to build the flashcards. So you need the actual file and you also the image link. And then you combine everything in a single table, like in single line. Pretty easy. That is used to feed the Google Sheet. And then if you go on the Google Sheet, yes, so you have your initial text that I've typed, the translation, the phonetics, the sentence. I think I have relaunched, so that's why the sentence is different. The image, boom, and the image name. And so I hope that these two examples gave you enough interest in starting for n8n. The last example that I wanted to show you, but I think the video is going to be too long, is the shipment tracking tool that I've been designing with n8n. The idea is, if you look at my channel, I think you have a video about it and you have an article about that. It's a tool that is used to automate shipment tracking. So let me show you. It's a bot. It's a Telegram bot. The idea is that for some small companies that don't have transportation management systems, they need to have a kind of a notification when they receive the orders, when the orders are delivered. And with this bot, the drivers can basically communicate all the information needed at the delivery, and a notification is automatically sent via email. If you are interested, I can do a video about it, and I can go step by step on how I built this workflow. Basically, the 3 workflows that I've presented in this video are freely available on my n8n profile that I will put in the description. If you have any question, feel free to let a comment in the comment section. And for the next video, I will probably show you more analytics product that I have developed using n8n and Python.